The evidence that we're finding now is this this extremely vast, vanished civilization that I believe was wiped out by the flood about 12 to 13,000 years ago. This event that all ancient cultures talk about, pretty much exactly the same storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really spectacular, because what people don't realize is the immensity, the hugeness, and the vastness of this vanished civilization. We're dealing with over 10 million stone structures and stone ruins that have been left behind and just deserted and covered by soil. And now we're starting to rediscover some of these that have been either rebuilt by later arrivals or washed clean by 13,000 years of slow and persistent rain that washed clean many of the ruins that were built on top of the mountaintops. And that's where we started finding the first evidence of these, and then extrapolating it down into the valleys and the larger expanse of southern Africa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, we're dealing with a civilization that is probably between 50 and 100 million people strong.
Wow.
And that lasted there for probably about 270,000 years. And, you said the origins of humankind. At this stage, mitochondrial Eve studies show us that, or suggest that modern humans, as we like to think about them or call them, appeared on Earth sometime between 200 and 300,000 years ago. Even about 2 weeks ago, Rice University published a paper on exactly this, that their new rehashed, revised mitochondrial studies suggest that modern humans are at least 200,000 years old.
Mm.
So, it's not very far from what we're finding, and this is what becomes really exciting.
Well, one of the things that I just love about your book is that you actually talk about the lineage of these various Anunnaki groups and how they eventually got into some different opinions about what should happen. One of them was a scientist. I don't remember which one that was, whether it was, I think it was Enlil or Enki. You'll have to fill in the blanks because, I'm not the scholar here. And that there was a lot of experimentation with cloning and trying to make some kind of assistant, which numerous attempts and numerous failures occurred over a very long period of time. So this wasn't just, Adam and Eve were created and they started walking around and, having sex with the Anunnaki. It wasn't like that.
No, of course not. And the Sumerian tablets make it clear that this attempt at cloning took quite a long period of time, and I believe that many different creatures and species were cloned before they decided and settled on the humans, the Homo sapiens. And that is why we find, I believe, this is my theory and my belief, and we find it in the fossils and the archaeological finds, of these other strange species linked to Homo sapiens all over the world. And we're very confused by this because they don't seem to fit anywhere. And that's really exciting information because it corroborates what the Sumerian tablets tell us. The translations tell us it very clearly. And, some people read the Bible and these and books like that very literally. And I must warn people against that because the Bible is a very important document. It is filled with incredibly important information about human origins and human history. But you've got to strip away that sort of holier-than-thou attitude and application.
Absolutely.
The moment you look beyond that, you'll be absolutely blown away how rich in information the Bible is in every possible way. Sorry, go ahead, yeah?
Well, you opened that door for me because my dad was a big Bible thumper, and so I kind of shied away from it and went more towards spirituality. But I've always thought that there are eternal truths in there. But your book shows, brings it to life and shows who these people really were and when they lived, and it makes it an exciting living process. Exactly.
Lance, the thing that people need to study the Bible, learn about the Bible and its truths, because, for example, the word Elohim, the original word for God in the Bible is Elohim. And that is not a singular. It is a plural. It means the gods. And many very deeply religious people don't know this, and they will deny it to their death. And unfortunately, this is a problem, because when you read the word God in the Bible, you must immediately translate it into its original form, and that is the gods, plural gods, the Elohim. And that's what it was. And suddenly when you read the Bible, you read the Sumerian tablets, you realize that you're reading about the same group of gods as you read in the Sumerian tablets. Now, in the same breath, you've got to then immediately distinguish between God with a big G and God with a small g, or the gods with a small g, because in no way do I ever want to discredit the divine being or the God or the creator of the universe and all things in it, that consciousness or energy source that is responsible for all this stuff that we are part of, that we don't understand, and I refuse to put that into a box.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also refuse to attribute human attributes such as anger and jealousy to a God that's so vast that those things just don't have any meaning in those realms. So it makes sense if those are the local gods, or the gods that were worshipped as gods, because we didn't know any better, and they created us, literally.
Well, exactly. They were our makers, and we were their slaves, always have been. And they were advanced beings that had the knowledge of flight and intergalactic travel, solar system travel and levitation, and had advanced knowledge, and we looked at them as gods. Now we reach that same stage. Okay, and we are being controlled by a group of advanced beings on this planet right now to try and prevent us from recognizing this information and finding out what's really going on, because this is a very cozy little planet where a lot of wealth, a lot of material and minerals are being obtained. And Earth started out as a mining colony with humans, and guess what? It is now a larger mining community than ever before in its entire history.
Absolutely. And many of my guests and Dr. Stephen Greer and Richard Hoagland had a discussion about Saturn recently, saying that the rings of Saturn are engineered, and that the planets, the moons definitely, and the planet Saturn are all geoengineered devices. They're actually they're made devices.
Yeah.
But what it seems like is happening here on our planet is that our wonderful dear planet is being turned into a Death Star almost.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, if you watch movies like Star Wars, and you said it, it's exactly that. It's like we're portraying and playing out some weird prophecy that's been showed to us in movies over years and years and years, over decades, from Star Trek to Battlestar Galactica, abandoning planet Earth because it's about to be destroyed, and then coming back to it, thousands of years later to recolonize it and stuff like that. It's really interesting stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry.
And you mentioned too that the Anunnaki, when they had their split, I encourage everyone to buy this book, because it's really crucial to gaining a grasp of understanding what has happened here and what is happening here. And maybe not all the pieces are there, because this is a work in progress, but there's a lot of information there, and a lot of good information. And one of the things that you bring up is that over these hundreds of thousands of years, the Anunnaki themselves had created rivalries and split up the earth and fought over territories and so on and so forth. And some of them bred other beings cloned other beings from their own blood, which were merged with reptilian lines and with some other lines that were cold-blooded in order to be fighting machines. So it's a very complex situation. Now, you mentioned that there are those here today that are controlling the planet. Are those offshoots of the Anunnaki, or the Aryans, or some people talk about reptilians and greys? Is it a conglomeration of renegade ETs that have gotten in with the governments and the black operations?
Well, Lawrence, that's not a simple answer, and I don't know if anybody outside of the actual body that does the controlling knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So on the outside, what we're doing, the guys that are doing the research and picking up the pieces of the puzzle are getting bits of